guys, I'm so excited to bring you Jordan Gill. Hey, welcome.
Yay, I'm so excited.
I'm excited to bring your knowledge bombs to this group because whenever we were crowdsourcing amazing logistics systems, know all people of all of the things, your name got tagged like 75 gajillion times. And so I was like, okay, this girl has to know something. We need to get her on here and bring this knowledge to you guys. So she comes highly coveted, highly praised, like known by everyone, I feel like. Like, I'm just going to gas you up all your intro. So I know this content is going to be golden.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And just to give Jordan a little clout, I mean, with her
do you need more than that?
millions of dollars made and thousands of hours saved, Jordan Gill is an operations consultant and host of the Systems Save Me podcast. So I'm going to guess she knows a thing or two about how to save you time and make you some money. She is going to be incredible, massive support. And I got just a sneak preview of what is to come, and nice. Oh my word, I like, this is the system that everyone's been talking about, but it's like twittering just below the surface and no one really knows what it is. I've literally never opened it, so I'm a newbie just like you, and I know Jordan's gonna dish the surface level and some advanced tactics for you.
Yeah, so what we're actually covering today, what Jordan is going to cover for you guys, is it's handled how to Olivia Popify your business using ClickUp. Please, please, please go deeper into that. I love it. Snaps for Jordan for coming up with that title because she wins the best award. All right. So what's happening today?
Yes. So what's happening today is, generally it's been this whole war of Asana versus Trello, right? Yep. So if you've been in the business for a while, you might have heard that. If you're new, you might have heard maybe a little bit about both of those. And I'm here to introduce a third contender in this war, right? So it's like, right, mixing it up. And ClickUp is really amazing because it works for every type of brain. There's a way that you can make it work for you. It is honestly one of the most customizable and flexible tools, which also can make it really overwhelming, I will admit. Now, that's where I come in, and I make sure to show you, if you've never stepped foot in ClickUp before, what it looks like, how you can see the hierarchy of managing your projects and managing your clients. So we're really going to focus in on clients today because, again, there's so many things I could talk about. And again, we're just going to stick with clients for today. And again, if you also have, you've been in ClickUp for a while, there are some advanced tactics, hacks, integrations that I am going to be touching on a little bit at the end, but let's go ahead and start with just the basics.
Well, before we jump in, I want to remind people they can get access to the massive all access pass by clicking below. Now, here's the secret that I heard is happening behind the scenes. If you grab your All Access Pass with the link below, you're going to get entered to win our All Access Pass giveaway. And oh my gosh, Jordan's literally, like, it's quite literally called the triple threat, because it is. She's going to give away one seat to her program that's going to show you how to automate and organize your calendar, your inbox, social media, all in a weekend. I know I want it. You probably want it. So if you want it,
your mama wants it,
then you better grab your All Access Pass so you could potentially be the person to win this awesome free course. And speaking of freebies, let's talk about Jordan's freebie. She's giving away her grab and go templates. I can only guess they have something to do with ClickUp. Am I correct?
Maybe, just maybe. Click those buttons below this video to get your All Access Pass, get that freebie, and get entered to win into this giveaway. Now, Jordan, are you ready? Are you ready to dive in?
I am so ready. Whoever is a fan of Olivia Pope, I also have some fun surprises of how I name things. Ooh. So just all the Scandal fans, even if you aren't a Scandal fan, let's be real, but you should be. If you are a Scandal fan, right. It'll be a lot of fun.
if all of your slides don't have Jake Ballard on them, I'm going to be disappointed.
So clearly have some Team Jake going on. Yes. So,
I definitely am also on Island Team Jake. I am not obsessed with very many shows, but this is one of them.
Yeah, I know. It's a good one. It's really difficult. I'm like an oldie but goodie sort of kind of person. So but Jake is great. Jake is really great. Yeah, he is really great. So
I feel like you're trying to not be controversial here, but I feel you being on the other side. But let's dive in and let people see what you got cooking up.
Yep, let's go ahead and turn on over. All right, y'all, it is handled. How to Olivia Popify your business using ClickUp. I'm super, super stoked to be sharing this with you. And I actually have never, ever, ever taught this anywhere. So you guys are getting the fresh content, the fresh meat from how I've been using ClickUp in my business and encouraging my clients to do the same. So real quick, here I am. See, I'm going to go back. I tried to match Olivia in this photo, not intentionally, but I just noticed this. I have a black top and a white skirt on, but she kind of does it a little more elegantly. I'm a little more quirky. It's fine. But anyway, I'm Jordan. And again, my business is System Saved Me, and I have a podcast, System Saved Me. And I've been in business for over 2 years. Crazy pants. A few fun facts. I am a puzzle nerd. This is not a drill. I only do 1,000-piece puzzles. And I live in Dallas, Texas, home of really delicious barbecue. And I have a dog named Vivian, who is a Cavapoo. So that's a little bit about me. But first, you may be wondering, why would I use ClickUp? What do I need ClickUp for? What is all this nonsense about? ClickUp is actually a task management software that helps you keep your projects and tasks on time, remember what you need to do when, and know where you're spending your time and become more efficient. So if you are somebody who loves to own physical planners, or you love to put your to-do lists on a whiteboard every day, whatever that is for you, instead of doing that, you can do it inside of ClickUp. And what's really beneficial about this is that, again, save the trees, but also you can make it a lot easier for you when down the road you want to build a team. Everything's already inside of your task management software. So you don't have to worry about having to transfer everything from your physical planner or having to say things twice to your team, any of that stuff. So that is why I encourage ClickUp. So now let's start with the basics of ClickUp. So if you have never been inside of ClickUp before, don't worry. We're going to go step by step through this and make sure that you understand as much of ClickUp as possible without trying to overwhelm you. So how I'm going to share this with you is really, we're going to start with the hierarchy of ClickUp. So think of these things as tiers, and I'm actually going to show you a screenshot of where all these things are, which may also help you in determining what this actually means. So initially, we have spaces. So spaces are essentially different departments in your business. So you want to think things like clients, financials, social media, podcasts, operations, anything like that, that would be considered an actual department of your business. So this is the highest tier, highest part of the hierarchy of ClickUp. Then inside of spaces are projects. So again, thinking of these as, different themes, or again, different projects, pretty self-explanatory. Like if you have the social media space, you might have Facebook as a project, or Instagram as a project, or Pinterest as a project, things like that. Then next you have lists. Lists are kind of the middle child, the stepchild. I don't know why I said step. The middle child of ClickUp. And really how you want to think of this is sectioning out your project. So maybe for social media, again, you have a space that is social media, you have projects that are Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, and maybe underneath each one of those platforms, you have January, February, March, April, May, maybe your lists are months. You can organize them however you want, but months is something that most people use it for social media, for example. The second lowest tier of ClickUp is tasks. So tasks are, again, pretty self-explanatory, but essentially it's how to actually complete the list of things that are part of that project. So again, for example, if you have January's Facebook content, maybe a task is create 30 captions, take 30 photos, research hashtags. Those could be particular tasks. And then we can get even more granular, like really, really nitty gritty. And some people don't use these. So if these aren't relatable to you, then totally get it. But these are essentially with tasks within the tasks. So you can, if your task is to research hashtags, then maybe you say, look up keywords surrounding this, or look up popular Monday hashtags or stuff like that you might just want to keep tabs on. So that's, again, pretty much in a nutshell what the hierarchy of ClickUp is. And here's how it looks inside at the platform. So again, if you've never been inside ClickUp, welcome. This is what it looks like. So as you can see, I have these numbered. So spaces are 1, projects are 2, 3 is your list. So again, project are open clients, closed clients for this example. And then 4 is the task. So that is all that you can see from this angle. But if you open up one of the tasks, then here's where your actual subtasks are, that 5th part that I was talking about. So just want you guys to be aware when I start using the language of ClickUp, whether it's projects, spaces, projects, lists, tasks, subtasks, that is what I'm talking about. So already, hopefully you are feeling like, A-okay, I got this, 5 things to remember, feeling good, feeling great. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments because I want to make sure that you feel good. Next, we're going to start to divide into what are called columns in ClickUp. So again, I want you guys to familiarize yourself with the language so that way when I show you actual templates, and if you grabbed my actual grab and go templates, then you are going to be very aware of where things are and what it is I'm talking about. So statuses can be a column. So where these actually are is along a task. And I'm going to show you exactly where these are here in a short bit, but you want to know where the status of that task is. You want to know if it's open, in process, waiting, closed, whatever your statuses are. You can choose your own statuses, or you can actually choose some that are already set by ClickUp. Just depends on how you work. They have Kanban versions, they have content versions, they have simple versions. I usually like to create my own statuses for the most part, but again, whatever tickles your fancy. Then we have due date. We all know what that means, when something needs to be finished by. Next, we have assignee. So who is in charge of completing that task? And in ClickUp, you can have multiple assignees. So, if we're just starting your business, and that doesn't really matter, maybe it's just you or you and a VA. But it gets helpful once you grow your business to have those multiple assignee options. Next is custom fields, which really are any other fields you want to create and show for your tasks. So I'm going to actually show you what those could potentially be. So maybe you have in there, you want to add a location, or you want to add a website link, or an additional date. Maybe you have a start date, an end date, a check-in date, whatever those look like for you and your projects. Maybe you have a checkbox of yes or no. Again, all of these are options, and ClickUp can get really, really broad. So if you're feeling too much right now, ignore custom fields because that's just going to get a little crazy for you. And then lastly is date updated. So you can actually see when someone's made a change within the task last. So that way, you don't have to open the whole task. If someone's like, oh yeah, I did that last week, and then you go look at the task and it says this task hasn't been touched for 3 weeks or something, then you're like, okay, clearly you didn't do this. So cool. That just helps you understand, when people are actually inside of ClickUp using it as a task management system. So again, I'm going to show you where all these things are. So you might remember that, spaces, projects, lists, tasks, all that stuff. This is in the list view with all of the tasks. So as you can see, I have them numbered over here: status, due date, assignee. This is actually a custom field. That's a drop down. So I decided to color different things and not have them be assigned, but know who owns the task. Again, you can put so many different custom fields there. And how you add actual columns is by clicking those 3 dots right there and adding them as they come in on the left-hand side. So that is where statuses are inside of ClickUp, or not statuses. Statuses are there, but also all of the columns. So that way you can have a bird's eye view of what's really important for you to know, so you don't have to open the task every single time you want to know what's going on. So speaking of tasks, let's go take a tour inside of them so we can see, okay, let's just start from really where you are actually going to be spending the majority of your time. This is a task. So what we have here is up at the top, you see my little face and like a little plus sign. That is where you see who is going to be assigned that task. Again, if you are just beginning in business, it's going to be you, a lot of you, and that's okay. And then if going from top to bottom, on the left-hand side over here, there is a little tags portion. I'm honestly not going to talk about tags because it's really not important for people beginning in business. That, you can research if you really want to nerd out on it, but it's not super crucial for you guys to get up and running inside of ClickUp. That next box next to it is dependencies. Again, I'm not really going to touch too much on this right now. I am going to be sharing some advanced strategies later on, and dependencies is going to be one of them. So hang tight. Then you have the task name, and then you have the description. So maybe you add some important links to things, or you have notes or things to fill out. All of that can go in the description. Below is the subtasks, and that is, again, where you can add those. If you want to add any attachments, so maybe you want to add an MP3 or a PDF or a JPEG, whatever those things are that are necessary for that task to get done, you just attach it really, really easily. Then moving over to the top right area, you'll see that there is a little calendar and a little circle-y thing. That's what we're going to call it. The left side with the actual calendar is where you put the due date. Then on the right-hand side is a circular arrows, actually, and that's if this task is recurring. So this would be really helpful if every single day or every week or every first Tuesday of the month, you want to make sure this task is done on your plate. So no more having to remind yourself, no more having to create a task every single time you need to do it. None of that is happening. And then lastly, down at the bottom, again, if you have a team or you want to make notes, then you can actually comment down below in the chat, and it makes it really easy in there for you. And lastly, before we get into the nitty gritty and I actually show you inside of ClickUp, I want to let you know something that's really awesome about ClickUp that both Asana and Trello are lacking if you are from the Asana and Trello tribes. So you can change the view of your ClickUp. So for example, I showed you list view because that's how my brain works, and I came from Asana. There's actually a time view where you actually can see on the calendar where all the tasks are. So that is super helpful so that you aren't, putting too many tasks on your plate on a certain day, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly is your board. So if you are a Trello fan, this might look familiar to you as this is Kanban method, which again, I'm not really going to go into too much, but if this is how you think, if you just want to move tasks from the right to the, from the left to the right, then this is a really great view for you. This is so beneficial. And especially if you have, again, start building a team, then people work in different ways. And so this gives you and them the flexibility of having their ClickUp be what is necessary for them to be successful. So take a breath. If you're feeling a little like this right now, I just want to give you a hug. And also, I mean, it's like 4:00 where I'm at. So if you are needing some wine, it's not, it's the afternoon for most of us. Might be the evening for some of us who are Europeans. Go ahead and pour yourself a glass of wine. There is nothing wrong with that. But also, I want to encourage you, because you may actually just need to see me in action inside of ClickUp, showing you my actual client projects and my different spaces, as well as how I run my podcast in ClickUp, which I'm really excited about because I used to do it in Asana. So this will be the first time I'm using it for my podcast for this upcoming season 6. So I'm super stoked. All right, I'm going to head on over to ClickUp and I'm going to show you how it all goes down. All right, here is the client's space for you to check out. But first, before I really jump into things, I just want to show you what happens when you decide you want to create a space. You have templates that you can create. I don't have any. You can save a space as a template, but when you're starting fresh, you name the space, you decide if you want it private or who you want to give access to, and then custom task statuses. Remember, we talked about the different columns of status, due date, assignee, stuff like that. This is where you create those statuses, and you can decide if you want a custom status group for every project you do, or you can decide to do it project by project. Really just depends on how you want to do things, or you can do a really simple open and close task. Then it gives you a few suggestions of assignees, dates, priorities, time tracking, tags, time estimates, and custom fields, and then you create space. When you go to create a new project, you just click new project. Very similar stuff pops up. And you have a project, and every project has to have at least one list because that is how they categorize it inside of ClickUp. So just a heads up. And then you can also look at creating, again, specific statuses per project. If you want to create a new list, then essentially you have to go back to, you can go back to project and add it, or you can click this new list here. And it's very simple. You just add the name. Or if you want to add a new task, you click new task or just place it right here. So that's everything. And again, if you, there's a lot of different ways to do everything. There's usually not one way to do something. So that's how it can kind of start to feel overwhelming. I'm not going to show you every way. I'm just going to show you a way. So that way you can just hit the ground running and start. So for the client's project, you can go in here and again, space, clients, project, open and closed. I have the first list, which is an example client, Quinn Perkins, obviously. So going inside of here, I've just made some sample tasks and some due dates and all of that sort of stuff, just so you can get a feel for what it looks like inside of ClickUp. So if I want to look and check out this filled out questionnaire, I can open it up and see it from a broad way. And then again, don't forget the repeat tasks, priorities, and people, tags. It's all in here, folks. It's all in here. So there's a couple, the attachments down here can be viewed in a couple different ways. The to-dos can be in a couple different ways. Again, it can get really spicy really quickly. So I'm going to close that up. And again, you get to decide what columns you want by clicking these 3 dots, looking at what's available. And again, if you have custom fields, they're down at the bottom. And basically go from there. Heads up, subtasks. Forgot to point those out. I kind of mentioned them, but those are right here. And those you can set priority and due date and assign them. And once you create them, then hit enter, and then it automatically populates right there. And then you can just check it off. But if you click it, it opens up a whole new task, if that makes sense. And you can get really granular about how many of these to-dos you want to do. So they're generally subtasks from the task. And then after that, it gets turned into a checklist. So that's, if you were wondering what the difference was. Then one thing I do want to go over is custom fields. So you go to these three dots and you go to custom fields right here. Again, this is the one that I have. It's called owner. Add a custom field. So maybe, for example, I own a podcast agency, and on every single task, I want to know when the date of that podcast episode is going to be scheduled. And then I also want to know when it's actually going to be published. So maybe I want to add a date custom field. And this date is going to be date published. And then you create and go from there. Then maybe I want to have one again that is date scheduled. So that way I know, and it's kind of like due date, but I can actually take due date off and put date published and date scheduled on there. See how I did that? So maybe that's something you would want to do. I'm going to take these off and put that back on. Then another custom field could potentially be, oh geez, the pirate comes and makes sure you want to do what you're saying you're going to do. So maybe you want to add a custom field that is a currency, and you maybe want to have task price or something. If you are having somebody do stuff hourly for you, you might want to know how long it's going to take them or how much it's actually going to cost for you to have them do certain tasks. You can create that. Another custom field example is maybe you're a wedding planner or something along those lines. And for some of your, what are they called? Site visits, you have to go to location. So maybe you actually want to do a location create field, and you put location, and it's a text field. And so that way you have custom fields, location, and it's set right there. And then you can say Marriott, 1923 Joshua Road, whatever that is. And so you can see from a bird's eye view all the location for the different site visits that you have. As far as naming conventions for your client project, the easiest way to do this is just writing it all out and seeing if there's different phases or stuff like that you can start to chunk things out in. That way, it'll be a lot easier for you to know about how much longer you have with that particular client. So that's my one suggestion on naming conventions. I've also seen it where people will put right in front of their tasks. Oops. I'm going to show you guys that in a second. Maybe a 1.1, and then maybe this one is 1.2. Oops. Things like that. So really you can get super snazzy with this, and then phase 1 would be 2.1, 2.2, or however you want to do it. That's pretty much it inside of clients. The last thing I really want to show is an advanced technique. So if you have a team of people, or you would like to have a team, then you might want to start using dependencies. Dependencies are these little red and yellow things that you see on here. So how you can do a dependency is actually by going to the three dots on this right hand side, and you go to dependencies. Maybe one of these days. Aha. So there are two different kinds of dependencies. One is waiting on, and the other one is blocking. So basically how you can think of it is tasks that must be completed before this task, and tasks that can't start until this task is completed. Honestly, I see I mainly put dependencies on waiting on, and then the task before it will always become a blocking task. So I would just focus on the task that you're waiting on. So for example, 1.2 can't happen until 1.1 is done. But it may not be that way for every single task. And it's helpful for when a team member is waiting on somebody to get something done, then your team doesn't get ahead, or they, do the wrong task or stuff like that. So basically I have it to where if I try and check, I checked off the wrong one. If I try and check off this one, boom, right here, it says dependency warning. These tasks are awaiting another task to be completed. Are you sure you want to close this task? So it is doing the job of like a project manager essentially, which is really great. So yes, this closes task, or you can hit cancel and it'll show right back up. So that way it's right back here. So sadly, I just threw away the other one, but that is a really cool option inside of ClickUp that is really, really beneficial for people who have teams. So the last thing I want to do, which also is semi-advanced, is coming over here to these 3 dots in the list. This right here is a little mail icon. And if you click it, essentially what can happen is if you have something in your email that you want to create a task on, you literally can just come over here and have it get added as a task to that particular list. What? It's amazing. Asana can do this. I don't know if Trello can, but Asana does this, but you still have to assign it to the particular project. ClickUp automatically does it to the right list, which is awesome. Like, it cuts out so much from having to do things. So that is also another little tip that I have for you. So for any of your lists, if there are emails that end up needing to be to-do lists, then I suggest you taking a quick gander at that as well. So now we're going to go into the podcast project. All right. So this is my podcast space that I am still working on, as season 6 is happening next January through June. So I'm a little ahead of time. But in podcast, as you can see, it's the podcast space. And I have some different projects here. And basically, I have it separated out from the prep or pre-production. And then I have production and post-production. So how I have it set up is once I do the recording of the interview, then I actually have, I put it into Dropbox, and then Dropbox sends my email notification. And then my email notification comes into here, into this particular list. So just a heads up, like, that is a really cool integration if you are a fellow podcaster. And I just mentioned how to do that. So that's the 3 dots, email instructions, make sure you send to that correct address. I'm going to start with the prep. So for example, I do Acuity prep, I do Dropbox prep, I do an episode list, and I do guest outreach. So as you can see, you can look at it from a bird's eye view of all of your lists in that particular project, or I can just look at the Acuity list at once. So that makes it really nice. I'm more of a bite-sized person, so I like to look at them as separate lists. So inside of here, there's a couple different ways you can do this for podcast or any of your content specifically. So again, with the statuses, you want to get really granular about custom fields, if there are any that you want to include. So potentially you can have a list that is based, on a particular, or not list. You can have a custom field that has to do with, double checking. So maybe you do something and you want somebody to be your quality control. That's a custom field you can have inside of here. Again, there's lots of options, but these all just go into like the few things, and sometimes they have subtasks, sometimes they don't. It really just depends on the project. But again, how I like to separate for content projects is to have the pre portion in one project, and again, the production and post-production in another. That's the same thing if you are doing a blog. I say the word production, which tends to be for podcasts and YouTube videos, stuff like that, but that also means for writing. So then season 6, I create an episode template. And so as you can see in here, there's all the links that are necessary for me to just have quickly at my disposal. And then also I have a bunch of subtasks and even some checklists as well. So that way I can see where it is in the process throughout the entire list. So for example, I have edit the podcast, create show notes, link show notes here, create graphics, place graphics into Dropbox. I'm big on double checking, inputting stuff, and then schedule the guest promotion episode for publish date. So actually it's actually technically the email for publish date. So if you want to see one that has a checklist, right down below it says the guest name is spelled correctly, the guest website and bio is spelled correctly, website and social links are all spelled correctly, even though clearly I spelled correctly wrong. That's embarrassing. But the episode title has all the correct spelling and all the links in the show notes work. So that's just something that I have as a quality control for my podcast, because it's always embarrassing if you spell someone's name wrong. It's just not a good look. Or a link is broken, also not a good look. So these are, again, if you have a podcast, totally swipe these and use them for your own fun and shenanigans. And then, again, just look at, this a very similar setup for vlogs or blogs and stuff like that. So again, when new episodes come in, which my batch week is in a few weeks, then I will have all of these tasks automatically put in here, and automatically will also have all of this information in it with the to-dos and all of that stuff. It just makes it so much easier. Am I right? There's also this thing called the tray that I want to suggest. So the tray is essentially, if I want to minimize something, it becomes right down here. So say I want to open up a different project, but I don't want this to go away. It's easy to come up, come down very, very easily. And then just to remove it from the tray, I have to hit this little X, and then I can X out and it's not going to go back down. So all of that stuff is pretty cool too. You can do that in any list or project anywhere. And then also just another way that you can organize this is by, if you have particular software. So maybe it goes from, recording on Zoom to Dropbox to Google Docs if you are doing show notes, to iMovie if you're editing it, or Final Cut Pro, and you can do it that way. I found that this is a lot easier just for my own sake, but I just wanted to mention a different way that you can set up your post-production lists as well. So I'm really big on creating a template inside of here. That way, when you add any other task, then it can easily be duplicated. And again, with going to the 3 dots, duplicate it. And also when you add the tasks in here, then they can also include the same statuses, the same columns, as well as the same task, subtasks, all that stuff, which makes it really, really convenient. So that is ClickUp in a nutshell. And I didn't want to overwhelm you with too much, but hopefully you have gotten inspired to create your own spaces and projects and lists and tasks. This is really a cool, flexible tool for whether you are a solo dolo chick or if you have a team. It has been such a great tool for me in getting stuff done, as well as actually brainstorming too, which has been cool. So hope you have been enjoying the summit overall, as well as this particular presentation, and I will see you with Abigail and Emily.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sticking around. Jordan, thank you so much for being here and giving us that knowledge. Remind everybody where they can learn from you and hang out more with you online.
Yes, my favorite playground on the social webs is Instagram. So go and find me on Instagram. It's at System Saved Me. So pretty straightforward. I also do have my podcast. We have over 100 episodes there. So there's lots to dig into. And that can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Alexa, iHeartRadio, pretty much everywhere. And so those are kind of the two places, and also just website www.systemsaveme.com.
Perfect. Guys, don't forget to hit those buttons right below this video. Grab your freebie, grab your all access pass so you can be entered to win the mega giveaway with all of the goodness that's piled into there. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jordan, for hanging out with us today.
Yes, it was so much fun. Thanks for having me.